Hi, it's Shadow Witch, and welcome to my circle. I wanted to talk to you today about Litha. It passed a couple days ago, happy summer solstice, but I wanted to discuss something about the origin of the name. I don't normally look on the internet for any of my research or historical references or information, but I do check out the internet. I'll do a quick Google search to see what you look for, what you come across, because that's what most people today do. And I don't blame you. It's hard to know where to find credible sources and research material. And so the internet is a real easy, quick place to do a search and find information. Well, I did that just the other day, and imagine my surprise where I came across this quote. I will not mention names nor publishing houses because apparently this was in a book. I don't even know if that's true. It was credited, the source was credited with an author that wrote a book for a fairly reputable pagan publishing house. There's a number of them. But again, over the years, I have been misquoted in many newspaper articles and interviews, and I've had students that have sworn up and down that I said something in a lecture that they misinterpreted, and I obviously meant this when I didn't. So mistakes happen. And so this particular quote says, Litha, the name for the summer solstice used by many modern pagan traditions. It has been claimed as the original pagan name for this festival, but no evidence has been presented to back this up. What? We're going to get to that because there really is evidence and I have it. But the next part I find to be awesome, but funny. The actual origin of the term appears to be, okay, I'll take exception to that particular phraseology. The actual origin of the term appears to be, so much wrong with that, J.R.R. Tolkien's fantasy trilogy, The Lord of the Rings. In this fantasy trilogy, The Lord of the Rings, their calendar that Tolkien devised for the fictional race of hobbits, their midsummer day is named Lithe, L-I-T-H-E. Now, I will grant that the fictional race of hobbits are indeed a fictional race, but Midsummer's Day being named Lithe, L-I-T-H-E, is Old English for Litha, and the rest of it is pure conjecture and opinion, and probably a poor Google search. Now, why do I say that? Well, because of this. And what is this? Well, Litha, which means gentle or navigable, was first seen in De Temporum Rationae, which is the reckoning of time, by the monk Bede, who lived during the 700s AD, or CE is what it's called now by archaeologists and historians, the Common Era. It is believed the name was given due to the calm breezes that smooth the sea during this time of year, the month of June. Bede, as I said, lived in the 700s. I did do a Google search because I'm not all that familiar with Tolkien. I have read The Hobbit, love the Hobbit movies. Not as familiar with The Lord of the Rings, so that has been exposed. But Tolkien was born in 1892, passed away in 1973, long after Bede. And why do I use Bede's work? Well, because of the following. When I look at a historical text, I am most interested first with the source material. And this is a translated text of Bede's work that was written by him and compiled, all put together when he was alive in the 1700s. And then this woman, Faith Wallace, translated with an introduction, notes, and commentary. And then this entire bit was published by the Liverpool University Press, which is an extremely reputable publishing house. Now, the very first page gives the list of the editorial committee, but it starts by saying this series of books, which they have an entire series of ancient texts that have been translated. They're called Translated Texts for Historians, TTH. This series is designed to meet the needs of students of ancient and medieval history and others who wish to broaden their study by reading source material, but whose knowledge of Latin or Greek is not sufficient to allow them to do so in the original language. Many important late imperial and dark age texts are currently unavailable in translation, and it is hoped that TTH will help to fill this gap and to complement the secondary literature in English which already exists. The series relates principally to the period 300 to 800 AD and includes late imperial, Greek, Byzantine, and Syriac texts, as well as source books illustrating a particular period or theme. Each volume is a self-contained scholarly translation with an introductory essay on the text and its author and notes on the text. Now, underneath that, which is even more important to me, is the editorial committee. This is a list of individuals and their universities that have sat down, have gone through the information with a fine-tooth comb. They are putting their names and the university's reputation on the line, saying this is authentic. This material has not been adulterated. It has not been changed. It has not been messed around with. If there are any opinions, conjecture, it is written under the commentary section. The parts that Bede wrote himself are only translated into English, French, whatever language you happen to be reading it in. Now, this editorial committee, I read the list and I find it to be extremely credible. We have the University of Oxford, the Oriental Institute, Keble College, Oxford, University of Liverpool, King's College, London, University College, London, Catholic University of America, Clare College, Cambridge, University of Nottingham, Yale University, right here in southern New England, United States, University of California, Los Angeles, University of Michigan, University of Warwick, University of Leeds, University of Bristol, National University of Ireland, Maynooth, University of Liverpool. Starts off pretty darn good. So, I'm really impressed with the information. I believe very much so that this is authentic information that has been authenticated by historians, scholars alike. Then I go to the beginning, the introduction, talking about what Bede was doing here. And it says here that he had written a shorter book on chronology, a longer book on chronology. And it says medieval readers knew his books, the short one and the long one, and its conventional medieval and modern title, De Temporum Ratione, The Reckoning of Time, this book here I'm reading, is apparently derived from the incipit of the book's prologue. And this is what Bede himself wrote. De natura rerum et ratione temporum duas, quondam stricto sermone libelos dissentibus ut rebar necessarios compos sui. which means some time ago I wrote two short books in a summary style, which were, I judged, necessary for my students. These concern the nature of things and the reckoning of time. The two short books mentioned by Bede were De Natura Rerum, on the nature of things, an introduction to cosmology, and De Temporibus, on times. Now, this book, The Reckoning of Time, is about measuring time and constructing a Christian calendar, because he was, of course, a Christian monk, and of what later medieval writers called computus. It is the earliest comprehensive treatment of this subject, because though there were abundant calendar literature before Bede's time, it was both fragmented and partisan in character. Most of it was not even in the form of texts, but in tables, specifically Pascal tables, which were designed to project the dates of future Easters. So what Bede did is he put together so much information. And what I like about it is the top of every single page, it just says translation, 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 translation. It's all translation of his work. And if we look at the, if you want to get this is available online. You can look for Liverpool University Press, Bede, B-E-D-E, The Reckoning of Time. Get yourself a copy. So much of our magical practice today actually is found in Bede's work. Now, whether Carol Gardner and the earlier founders of our beliefs and our practices knew about Bede's work or not, or whether it was passed down by word of mouth, I do not know. And honestly, I respect that attitude much more than somebody making stuff up or assuming things. If you don't know, just say, I don't know. That's what good instructors do. We do not know everything. We're not supposed to know everything. And when we don't know something, we can tell our students, hey, hold on. You know what, let me do a little bit of research. Let me get back to you on that. I want to make sure I'm giving you the right information, not just, yeah, J.R.R. Tolkien, Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I found that with a quick Google search. Must be the origin of Litha. No. And let me tell you why. We have here, let's see, in the table of contents, he talks a lot about the moon, a lot about the sun, the days of the week. Oh my goodness. Formulas for figuring out various, courses, the 12 months, varying lengths of the days, the different positions of the shadows. Oh, that sounds cool. Quarter days, everything about the elements, formulas for figuring out the elements, the solar calendars. It's really, really very filled with all kinds. Some of the information is really advanced, and some of the terminology is very difficult to understand, but it's very cool. Now, going to our happy little month of June, he also, toward the back, included the tables that he worked with, that he went on to detail in more, with more information throughout. But June, and please forgive my mispronunciation if I do, he starts off June, the Hebrew month Sivan, the Egyptian month Peni, the Greek month Decios, the English month Litha. It's right here. Again, this is a translation. This is not somebody saying, oh, yeah, this is what we think he meant, and we're just going to fill it in here. They were taking Bede's words and they were translating them. That is a significant point to be aware of. And Bede lived, I think he died in 735 AD. Tolkien sadly passed away in 1973. 1,000 years, or almost 2,000 years have passed. So If anything, yeah, Tolkien may have gotten the information from Bede, but not the other way around. Also, another source of historical information that I use is ancient recipe books, cookbooks. It's quite interesting when you look at a really old recipe book. I have the Form of Curry, which was found, I believe it was a scroll used by the king's head chef in Windsor Castle. I believe it might have been Henry V. And the way people lived, the way people ate, what they ate, how the food was prepared is very significant for the times. And that Form of Curry book, the recipe book, has been translated from Old English into legible English. It is available for sale now. The University of Manchester, England, put it out. When they found the scroll, it took them quite a while to kind of work the pages, and they were available for members, you know, historians, and I actually got copies of those. So I really enjoy that. I also have a recipe from a castle in northern England that the main fair food for the summer solstice from this castle in northern England is taffy. And this taffy, I believe, was made with honey and like a butter substance, and they would pull the taffy. It was a huge favorite, and they still make it to this day. The term Litha was used in the recipe, and this recipe dates to over 1,000 years. The castle has been there over that length of time, and it's still a favorite come the summer solstice every year. So to say that J.R.R. Tolkien came up with, I mean, I love the fact that he used our terminology in his stories. I think that's really cool. But to just nonchalantly throw it out there that, you know, yeah, he came up with the term, can't give you that. Yeah. So I'm going to leave it at that. You use your discretion to determine if it's even important to you. I like to set the record straight. I have been a historian, a legit historian, for well over 30 years. I used to be a historian in our local historical society, and I had the pleasure of writing a history column, the history of our town here, in one of the oldest newspapers that's still in existence in the United States. It's the Hartford Courant. I did that for over 10 years, a super long time ago. And yeah, so I take history and research very seriously. And again, if you don't know the answer, it's not, there's no shame in saying, I don't know. Let me find out. So I looked up that for you. I found some serious information for you. Bede, The Reckoning of Time. It's a really great piece of source material, and I hope you found it interesting. He talks about a lot of other things in there too. If you're interested in the magical world, I would get a copy of it. So, and thank you for visiting my circle. It's been great seeing you again. Enjoy the rest of your summer solstice week. Blessings, and thanks for visiting my circle. Only cool cats and kittens allowed. Bye.